Okay, everyone, we would like to get started, so if you could grab a seat, that would be great. Yeah, we're starting now. Yeah, let's start. Everyone, please get seated. We're about to start.
I can whistle. People will get attention.
We'd like to get started. Yeah, let's get everybody.
Okay, sure. Hello, everyone. Uh, please settle down and we'll just get started in the next 2 to 3 minutes. How do I change the slides? Oh, okay. Perfect. Please feel free to grab a slice of pizza and then settle down so that we'll get started with the session. Yes. Uh, Hello, everyone. Yeah, please gather around and we'll just get started. Please be seated. Uh, yes. Okay, should we get started? Yeah. So, Archit and all of you can come one after other. एक के बाद एक. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this event and giving your valuable time on a Monday morning, Monday evening. I'm Akshay Panse. I'm one of the hosts. So we have an exciting lineup of fireside chats and some introductions by 4 startups who are co-hosting the event. So the topic of the event is basically building the intelligent revenue engine. The idea behind this event was that the 4 startups which we'll presenting shortly are building AI agents to help organizations increase their revenue and manage their operations more efficiently. And we thought that creating a joint event will give a good perspective of how AI is reshaping the services segment and giving efficiencies to companies. So the way we are scheduled this is the initial 15 minutes will be an introduction by each of the startups who are hosting this event. And then we'll have 2 fireside chats and then followed by networking. So we can make it as interactive as possible. So quickly starting with introduction to the first startup, which is Qlay. I'm one of the co-founders of Qlay. I'm Akshay Panse. And a bit about us. So we are a second-time startup founder, and Qlay is essentially a Gen AI startup, part of Alchemist Accelerator program. And so we basically are building something in the agentic AI space. The problem statement which we are trying to solve is that if you have used any complex application like Salesforce, SAP, ServiceNow, because of the inherent nature of the vastness of these products, they are not plug and play anymore. So you need a lot of technical experts to help set it up, to make changes, customizations. And so you'll see an army of people here, right from your in-house team of admins, developers, architects, to even consulting firms, implementation partners who help organizations do that. So long story short, it's very manual, it is frustrating and time consuming because of the time and money spent in managing these tools. So we are basically creating AI agents which can take up a lot of workload which humans have traditionally been doing. So call it as a service, as a software category. And what Qlay will end up doing is that if as a business, anybody who's using Salesforce here, you can basically relate whenever you want to make some changes or enhancements to the product or implement it for the first time, you will need consultants or in-house experts to then gather your requirements, create a structured format of BRD to creating the architect or solution design, and then create the code. We basically will automate a lot of it, and humans in loop will ensure that things are done faster and more efficiently. So for people who have joined this and are interested to figure out tools like Salesforce or are already using it, you can scan this QR code here. It's also there on the standee. And we are offering $500 worth of free credits for someone to try it out and give us feedback. So I'll just pass on the baton to the next speaker, Toku from Qlay. Sorry, it's Amolino.
Thanks, Akshay, and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. I know there's a lot of events in the city of San Francisco, so we really appreciate you choosing to come spend your evening with us. Having said that, my name is Asim. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Amolino. What we do is we help sales teams execute better and have a more predictable revenue forecast. That's a lot of words, but what we're really helping with is that sales managers don't have often enough visibility into what's going on with their teams. If you have 10, 20 sales reps, you're constantly figuring out what is your team doing by fiddling with Salesforce, HubSpot. If you are a sales rep, you're trying to prioritize 20, 30 deals and you're not quite sure. If you are the VP of sales or the chief revenue officer, it's always hard to know, if the deals that you think are going to come in this quarter are actually going to close this quarter or not. So revenue forecasting and deal execution remains a huge challenge, and we are using AI for that. So what we do, and our belief, is that deal execution and revenue forecasting go hand in hand. Now, as a sales rep, if somebody just told me, hey, here are the deals that you want to focus on to prioritize, and here is what you're missing for each of your deals, and more importantly, if some AI can tell you, hey, this is the best practice, this is what you need to do to maximize your chances of closing a deal, I would very much love that. So that's the deal execution part. And of course, once you have predictable deal execution, your revenue linearity automatically increases. And that's what we're doing. So with Amolino, you get guided selling, you get a complete 360 customer view, lots of opportunity for coaching the sales rep, deal health and opportunity scoring, and a whole lot more. It's just a quick screenshot, right? The product is being deployed with a bunch of mid-market B2B sales companies. And I think if you were running a sales team with anything more than 10 salespeople, 20 salespeople, we can really help you accelerate your sales cycles, reduce your sales cycle, increase your sales velocity, and get more visibility into your pipeline. If you're into that, would love to talk to you. And with that, I'll stop. And once again, thank you so much for spending the evening with us. Thank you. I'm going to pass on to my friend, Archit.
Thanks, Asim. Hey, everyone. Good evening. I'm Archit. I'm the founder of FuelGrowth. Just a quick sort of sense of who we are, who all are over here. How many of you are founders in pre-seed, seed stage startups? Okay, 25, 30% of you guys. So this is sort of what we are building is more for you guys. So what are we doing at FuelGrowth? Once a founder or a startup starts hitting a product market fit, which I've been through 2 times in my previous lives as a founder, you start reaching a stage where you now need to grow beyond your founder-led growth, where you are sort of the one who's leading a lot of your growth operations, leading a lot of sales operations. And so we, as an AI agentic team led by experts, come in and take that off your hands, right? You as a founder might be deeply involved with your growth ops. You have siloed tools with all the new AI SDR tools coming in, all the other tools coming in. You're using everything in silos. We come in and sort of help you streamline all of that. And so that beyond this, this is how it looks like. So as a founder, you now get all these deals coming in where you can focus on closing more deals and grow. And then we become that expert-led team with specialist AI agents, and we manage your channels, give you a live dashboard where you can focus on growing your revenue and hitting your targets for your next fundraise, right? This is the combined 60+ years of experience we bring in. I'm Archit. Greta, who we'll have as a speaker over here, will come in as well. She comes in with a lot of experience of building and launching new products. We've got Anuj, who is a B2B growth expert, who comes in with experience of working and advising a lot of startups at a lot of VC funds. And then Path, who's been building AI and Meta and other leading startups over here. We are giving away a free growth plan to founders in pre-seed or seed stage who are looking to grow and who are figuring out where you guys are in your journey. You can scan our QR code and book a call with us during this week. Having said that, I'll now hand it over to Toku to share a little bit about Qlay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Toku, and I'm the co-founder and COO of Qlay. That's Qlay with a Q. And we are an engineer, like an AI-powered engineer hiring platform. We use AI to source and screen candidates from different countries, and we assess their technical skills, and we place the top candidates in companies here. And so these are the co-founders. So my co-founder, Tom, he's ex-McKinsey guy who used to do org. And I guess I'm a 3X founder. I have the background in software development. And yeah, so basically, the problem we're trying to solve is that hiring engineering managers and senior developers spend a lot of time screening through candidates and interviewing candidates, which is precious time that they could have spent on developing their product. And so we're trying to cut that down. And also, we make it very easy to find resources in other countries so that you can kind of lower your cost, your burn. So we use kind of AI to kind of optimize that process and be able to deliver affordable engineers. And yeah, so we're kind of doing this campaign where if you book a demo with us in the next 48 hours, then we give you 400 free engineering hours. So you can book a demo from this QR code, or I guess if you don't get a chance to capture this QR code, the website is Qlay.ai, Qlay.ai. Thank you.
Kuldip is here.
Wait, excuse me. There you go. There's one more person. Where is that?
Okay, so we have a couple of panel discussions, fireside chat. So let's welcome the first group. I guess after they come up on stage, they will each introduce themselves.
So we'll go in that sequence.
All right. I think we can begin by introducing ourselves once again. You've already heard enough from me. Asim, CEO and co-founder of Amolino. Greta?
Greta Remington. I've got 32 years of innovation and new product launch experience. I have my own consulting practice, and I'm also working with FuelGrowth in the development of their tools.
Hi, my name is Kuldip. I work at Kugamon.
I'm Archit. You've heard from me a while back, co-founder and CEO of FuelGrowth.
So we wanted to put this as fire chat. We have a few questions for our esteemed panelists, but towards the end, if there are questions, we'd love to take them. Archit, would you mind kicking us off with some questions for Kuldip and Greta, please?
Yeah, I think we'll sort of want to do a little bit of fun icebreaker as a first question, but we'll also want to jump directly in to the revenue cycles and with your combined experience. What's the most unexpected experiment or a move which you guys and your experiences have done while working with your own startup or companies you're advising, which has paid off, which you never felt or thought would move the needle when you were going with those experiments in your day-to-day work?
Okay, so a little quick background. So I run a company called Kugamon, and what we do is we create quotes and orders. We do invoices, collect payments, and we do subscription management on Salesforce. So we do the whole CPQ, billing, and subscription management. And I've been very fortunate that our app is quite popular in the Salesforce ecosystem. So to answer your question, I think for me was getting involved with YouTube.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of documentation. I asked one of our folks that was in our customer success team to put some videos behind the documentation and just put it on YouTube. And lo and behold, our support case count went to 0 because people were able to figure it out. But then our prospects would view the videos, so our sales cycle dropped. And now that's a competitive differentiator, that we have a video on everything about our functionality. So that was an experiment.
Yeah.
It really worked out.
Awesome. I mean, I think we spoke about it in the last call as well, and this is something I think a lot of us can learn from. Yeah.
Very unique.
But how did you come up with this? Like, what was the idea? Was it a rationale or like a educated guess, or just sort of?
So it's kind of interesting. So we have documentation, and we would have a support situation where we say, oh well, we have an article on that, and would send it out, and we just noticed that people were still asking the same questions. At the same time, I noticed that on YouTube, more and more people there's like these technical influencers about RevOps and these business operating systems. So like, for example, if you go in the Salesforce space, you would find folks like Salesforce Hulk and After Apex Hours, and they would have like 100,000 subscribers and just people watching their videos. Like, it's an incredible amount of time on something just kind of like Salesforce, that kind of thing. And so I said, well, why don't we put some of our videos, and lo and behold, like, if you guys go to YouTube right now and you guys type in, create a quote from an opportunity, a Kugamon video is more likely to be in the top 3 videos. So that's helped. So that's kind of how we did it. Just people weren't reading our articles.
Awesome. Greta, you've launched so many products.
Yes, and I've done a lot more in the consumer sector, everything from traditional CPG to retail, e-commerce, B2C, et cetera. But we did a project recently, and actually was working a bit with Archit on this, and for a company called Zesty Bakers, and it's basically the Etsy of the artisan baking world. So if you want to go on and buy these beautiful $200 and $300 Instagram-worthy cakes for a gender reveal or a birthday, this is the place to go. And today people go on Facebook Marketplace and fumble around trying to find it. What we learned very early was that we had a lot of interest, a lot of engagement, but people would sign up, and then the feedback we were getting as well, I have a birthday coming up for a friend in 6 months or in 3 months, so that the conversion lag was a problem. So we found that they're interested, but we're not converting, and then the longer it goes between awareness and conversion, that drops off. So we tried something that we were hoping would work, honestly, and it blew up in a good way, better than we'd hoped, which was we said we had to create our own moment. So if you've got these long conversion lags, create a moment that we decided to do. I don't know if you're familiar with cake picnics, but they're kind of very on trend right now. People go to a party in a park, they each bring cake, and then everybody takes pieces of cake and goes. It's a big party for people that like to eat cake. So they decided to just host a party for cakes. And we put an ad out, and then the ad blew up. We had over 1,000 responses to that. We sold 150 tickets to this cake event in 48 hours. And so now, and then people, guess what, they're buying their cakes on that site. So we basically, it's sort of create your own magic, create your own moment. But it did surprise me how much attraction we got from that. And that's consistent with what I've seen for some other clients where things that are in real life really resonate. We tend to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, is it this tagline or this ad or is it this media buy? And sometimes it's just, if you reach out to people and do something, look at this, I mean, all the people that showed up here tonight, in real life is really capturing people's imagination right now. So if you're not sure what to do, host an event. It works brilliantly.
Well, I'll add to that, Greta. Thank you for sharing that, Greta and Kuldip. This is one of the first times our company has done an event, and I fully agree with you. You put a call out there, people come, and then just tonight I've met so many people that from whom I can learn, and this is a great opportunity. So I fully second that.
For me, like on a personal level, with my first startup, I had a friend who worked at a marketplace. We were selling software to marketplace sellers. For example, a lot of sellers on Amazon. We were selling our product to these sellers on Amazon and marketplaces. But this was based in Southeast Asia, so they've got a marketplace over there called Lazada, which is big over there. And I knew a guy who worked over there. And so I was trying to find a way to get in to one of their teams who can then sort of help me blast the launch of a product to all their merchants. I tried reaching out to the right people for 3-4 months. And then when I got in, they did a blast for us. And our product automatically went inside the mailboxes of 100,000 sellers. And we had our first 100 customers out of there with that sort of launch. And it was sort of $0 spent for us. When sometimes old school hacks work as well.
You just got to find what works for you. Let's go to the next question.
This one's specifically for Greta, and this is more on the top of the funnel part of it. So we'll start on top of the funnel and we'll try to go more bottom of the funnel from there to conversion. In terms of the brand signals, Greta, what are you seeing today in 2025, which you feel a lot of startup founders, a lot of marketing teams today, what is one main metric for you which might be moving the needle according to you on the kind of companies you work with, and what's your advice to people over here if they have to narrow down and not waste a lot of time in experiments?
More in the branded versus the performance stuff? Branded is tricky. I think, first of all, I think people tend to look at things in two very discrete buckets, which I think is the wrong way to think about marketing. There's this idea of like, well, there's this branded stuff, which is, devalued for a lot of people because they just think, well, you're just doing organic, you're just pumping out some content over here. But the paid, there's a lot of focus on paid. But it's a little bit like if you don't put the time and effort into learning how to build the relationship on the branded side, you're blowing up your CAC and your and a number of aspects on even getting the conversion. It's sort of like, when you're dating, you have to kind of court somebody for a little while. You don't go from like meeting someone to proposing in the same, within an hour. So you can't just say, we're going to skip all this branding stuff because it's expensive and I can't really measure it. There's no really metrics, and let's just run a bunch of ads. So you've got to really warm them up. I would tell it varies so much by industry, but if you want a rule of thumb, I would say you need to plan on 3 to 6 months of warming up your audience, building some awareness so that they're kind of have heard of who you are. So when they see an ad, they're like, I'd like to learn more. Don't go in for the kill right away. So this sort of broad advice on how to warm people up. But the other thing is to kind of think about, can you drop little breadcrumbs? So can you ask them to take a survey, get their opinion, start to engage with them. I've done some really inexpensive stuff where you can give away a gift card for some. You'd be amazed what people will do for a $25 Amazon gift card. But you say, hey, we're giving away this thing and we would just love your opinion on something. People are on their phone, they're scrolling, they're bored, they'll answer a question. But the moment that they answer a question about do you have a need in this space? You're kind of doing a little research, but they're stopping for like 10 seconds and answering a question, and you're getting that brand impression. So don't look at it as either just pumping out mindless content or doing paid. Try to find ways to engage with them and build some awareness and build that relationship for 3 to 6 months.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So this is actually kind of incredible. So you're saying that, so let's say I have a B2B company,
Yeah.
and I want to build out awareness and get out there. What do you think would be the best approach to get these AI chatbots to recommend and present your offering? I've been very fortunate, like when leads would come in and my team would talk to them, like, oh, how did you hear about them? And they're like, oh, ChatGPT recommended. But I was always curious, how would ChatGPT or Grok or Claude or Perplexity know, like how would you, because I believe more and more folks are going to just do that more search, how the Apple EdiQ just mentioned that, there's more there's a dip in Google search and Safari. So how do you think you would do that? How would you get?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because I think we're all still learning what are the things that trigger the AI. We've learned a lot about SEO, like we've learned all the different rules and metrics.
Yeah.
But AI is still, I think it's still really runs off of some of the same principles as SEO in terms of it's looking for authority, it's looking for likelihood, but I think that the big difference is in the quality of the content. I think it can really tell, like you can't just crank out a bunch of garbage. And it has to be authentic to your voice. So if you're going to do like SEO or posts or try to get your activity out there, you want to start by writing down your opinions, write it in your voice. Use AI to clean it up. Don't just go into AI and say, crank out 10 articles on these topics, because more and more the engines can read. They know, they can tell it was because they've seen 15 other articles on the same topic using the same lines. So you've got to interject it with a unique voice. So if let's say you're a law firm, and a B2B thing, they're trying to get more clients. It's having the lawyers pick a topic and actually interview them, or have some mechanism that'll produce the interview. Get real quotes, real content, real advice out of your the business, and get real unique and organic advice from them, and then use that in the post. Because the AI, from what I've seen in AI, it increases the ranking for unique and what looks like human voices versus AI generated. Have you seen anything similar?
Yeah, so I think for me, the traditional SEO route, if you look at when you do an experiment, when you go for a search in a ChatGPT and when you search directly on a search engine, see what ranks and compare what is ranking on top of these search engines and versus what ChatGPT is recommending. I think as a rule of thumb, we should all do that for our keywords and for what our audience is looking for. And what I've started observing is, I think for you, why you were coming on top is because of your YouTube. I can just tell you a lot straight away. But also Reddit. I think we discussed about Reddit, right? So these are small places where I don't think people or companies concentrate as much. But when you do a search on Google, Google is picking up from YouTube, Reddit, because these are more authentic content. These are more user-generated content. So even Google now knows where are more user-generated content coming out from. And that is where these ChatGPTs of the world and others of search, AI sort of search capabilities are now sort of looking at, scraping it, and then giving you answers. I think for me, that's a little bit of hack, which I would suggest.
Yeah.
We should pull at the key topic that's probably at everybody's mind today, which is everybody's mind for the last 2 years, which is AI. And I know, Kuldip, if it's okay, let's start with you, because you've thought a lot about where AI in the revenue operations flow works, doesn't work, top of funnel, bottom funnel. I know you've thought very deeply about it, and I'd love to have you share your perspectives.
Yeah, thank you. I spent a lot of time about this, so just to give a little background. So I've been involved in this space for about 20 years. I've been running Kugamon for 16 years. I know you guys are saying, wow, he looks so young, so I appreciate it. So I've been very fortunate to have customers from small startups to large global enterprises. And what my product does, and from my perspective, is that we help the sales rep create the quote, create the order, manage the sale, the fulfillment of the sale, dealing with billing and so forth. And I've been looking at how do I bring in AI to make it more efficient and help our customers and make them the whole thing is help them become more profitable, save money, prevent churn and so forth. And what I'm finding out there is that if you look at these organizations at a certain size, there really isn't an AI app to make life better. If you kind of look at from dealing with leads on one end, there's a lot of AI tools in terms of getting you prospects and data enrichment. But when you're a sales rep and you need to create a quote, depending on the size of companies, there's just a lot of people that are involved. You need to get permission on special pricing, or maybe the sales rep is trying to break into a new account and they're trying to come up with something unique. There isn't an AI app saying, can you please create a quote for me that's highly profitable but competitive against, that doesn't exist yet. And I'm looking to build something like that, but I'm not seeing it. Where I'm seeing AI in that RevOps space of, or the sales ops, is maybe tangential, like, hey, who are my top companies? Which leads or which opportunities should I follow on? Where's the deal momentum? Stuff like with your app on the forecasting side. But I'm not really seeing AI on the quoting, on the orders. There's some, if you go on YouTube, there are some proof of concepts with some of my competitors where you can chat and hey, create a quote and add some line items, and that'll create something. But I haven't seen any company saying oh yeah, the price that they gave, we're just gonna go with it and just send it out there. Because the challenge is that you also have to know your buyer, and sometimes they'll be a stickler, so you don't want to give them the best price up front because you know that their procurement person at the end is going to ask for another 10% discount. And so there's a lot of these weird kind of idiosyncrasies that an AI app, you just can't implement and just go with it on that sense. There is automation though, so you have automation and sending out reminders, automation saying renewals, past due notices. So there's a lot of automation, but having an AI, a machine learning, an algorithm dealing with math that you could just drop in and have an app just go with it, it doesn't really, I don't see the adoption there.
I think there's, well said, I think there's still a big gap between automation and intelligence, so I think a lot more work to be done. But I'd love to hear your perspective on where do you see AI being deployed intelligently and where it is having ROI, and where there is still a gap, if you would love to share.
Yeah, sure. I think kind of building off what you're saying, there are some gaps, and there's some, at this point, necessary gaps. The best way I've heard just AI described, and the way I describe it to people, is it's like having a junior level employee. So, for example, in your scenario, you might have a junior level employee do some background research, prepare an initial quote, do about 80% of the work, but you still need that director of sales, VP of sales to come in, take that starting point, refine it, personalize it, and put that layer of thinking and intelligence on top of it. So I look at AI the same way. So if I'm doing something for an advertising campaign, I think, and especially in the CPG space, I think is kind of wide open in terms of AI. Basically, there's Jasper, there's Midjourney, there's like a handful of like visual generators, a couple of bad ad generators, and some logo generators, and that's all they've come up with so far. But what they do is you can have the AI go out and look at 10,000 competitors' ads and look at all the stuff a human being couldn't possibly have time to do.
Correct.
Go and do this kind of analysis, pull this together, and deliver to me, as the brand strategist, your assessment of what's going on in the marketplace. But don't take it as far as saying, and then I want you to write the campaign, and then I want you to write the strategy. So I use it like having like an army of junior employees that are doing all the dirty work, so then delivering something that I can layer that 10 or 20% on top of.
Do you think there's going to be a point where a startup, like a CMO, can just say, hey, my budget is, I don't know, $500 a day, just run with it? Like, I want to increase my revenue and it'll just do everything?
Eventually, but I think it's sort of at the beginning of the process, you still have to write the strategy and the guidance. At a certain point, you can turn it loose, but that's only after that like, several months of learning. When you start to see repetition, and even then you take an individual campaign, you can say, okay, start running derivatives and run this theme. But then in the background, as a strategist, you're starting the next campaign. So it's sort of like a rolling song, right? Once your campaign is perfected, you can let the AI run with it. But you need to sit down then and start working on what's next, what's new, because you're going to have to refresh it. At some point, it will wear itself out, because it can't create. It'll just keep doing derivatives until it washes down to the ROAS dropping. At least in my experience, that's on maybe more on the consumer side, more B2C.
I mean, just to follow up on sort of this discussion, right? So all of us as founders, where do you see on this, right? So where do you see today in execution, not in the future, today? I mean, I think as AI improves, more and more of the work will get automated. But today, are we already in a state where you prefer using AI over hiring a junior employee in your team or an intern in your team, or you prefer saying, okay, no, I have AI, it saves me a lot of mind space, it saves me time for training these junior employees, getting them up to speed with where we are in our business, how much we know about our customers, instead of refining them over and over and over again. Where are you guys right now in your sort of decision making today?
Let's start with you guys, and then I'd love to share.
I guess it's an awful answer of it depends. I think it comes down to in sales negotiation, maybe no. In product recommendations, maybe yeah. In helping craft an email to a lead that's gone, a deal that's gone cold, yeah, maybe like, hey, help me with that type of stuff. Like for our YouTube videos, I did kind of look at like, oh, maybe I should do those AI video, but I just realized that. Can I say something controversial?
Yeah. I think we need more controversy on the stage.
Yeah. Do.
I have this belief that anything that you put AI to kind of ruins it for everybody. And here's an example. So once you started having like these AI generating for blog posts, nobody reads blogs. No. Once you started having it for like LinkedIn posts, nobody reads LinkedIn's. Once you started having email automation, nobody reads your emails. So like there's a lot of emails that I get in the structure and the format, and I feel like once you're starting having like you'll see these YouTube videos and you can tell it's AI. Nobody well they do have a lot of views, but I have to like I don't know who's watching them. Maybe it's another AI.
It's another AI.
And stuff like that. But so I'm worried that we're getting to a point where everything will be so automated that it'll make it, excuse me, it'll get the negative consequence.
But wouldn't we soon be in a world where AI will be reading what AI is generating and telling us what to do?
Like it kind of sucks like just with calling support and getting, it's where it's getting really difficult to get to a human. So I don't know. I have a lot of. I'm always looking at how to make things more efficient. But even for our customers, especially when you have a global customer and they have folks in different offices and there's a lot of idiosyncrasies and issues, I don't know how you can just drop in functionality and that they will all agree to deploy in that company. So that's one of the challenges.
Youssef, tell us.
So I'm a bit of a nerd and a futurist. So I've been thinking about this a lot, like what happens next. And I'm old enough to remember when computers started to really take off, and they were like, oh, this will put everybody out of work. Well, everybody always predicts when there's groundbreaking new technology that's going to put everybody out of work, and it actually just sort of shifts the way we do things. So what I think is actually going to happen is that rather than, if you think about blogs and YouTube as content coming at you, then all we do now is search. How do I do this? How do I do that? And then you hope somebody out there has produced an answer to that question. So it's request-based information. And then there's things out there that help you say, well, here's what people are requesting and what they're looking for. I think it's going to flip around. Imagine if what happens next is I go into YouTube, as I have my AI agent go onto YouTube and say, okay, AI, produce a video for me to answer this question for me. It goes out and watches 100 videos and aggregates them into I want a 10-minute video on how to install a new faucet in my sink. And here's my brand of faucet, and customize the whole thing. And I think we're going to be able to start requesting it to go out and generate the content that we want. I'm not going to watch a blog anymore. I'm going to say, hey, I've never done a media campaign in the build tech community, so tell me what I need to do this. And it'll go do the research for me. So I think it's actually going to start being that we won't be receiving content. I think we need to start thinking forward to a world where people are requesting content, and now we need to find ways to market to them and put ourselves into that dialogue.
I like to share my perspective on this. This is a very interesting question, Archit. Like, I mean, the question you're trying to get at is if you were trying to hire an intern in this year, 2025, would you prefer a junior employee or an intern or use AI, right? And I think that's a super deep question. It forces us to think about, like, yes, the very fact that we're all in this room, I think most of us would argue that, look, having AI do automation is faster, better, cheaper, more efficient than training new employees. I think at that level, the answer is very clear. The problem that I've seen personally hits to the heart of what you've been talking about, Greta, which is that look, everything is the same, right? You also said that every blog is the same, everything is the same. How do you break through the noise, right? Like we all get tons of emails, and I think we've all learned to recognize in the first 2 or 3 seconds, was this email written by an AI? If it is, all of us just delete that email. What I found with people, even if it takes more time to train them and get them to do the right things, is once in a while they come up with something so unique, so different, so unlike AI, then you're like, wow, nobody's thought of this before, because we've all been learning how to prompt engineer Perplexity and ChatGPT. And those new ideas either help us break through in the marketplace, produce a better product, produce better copy, or just do things very differently from what everybody else is doing. So now, like if you had asked me this question 6 months ago, Archit, I would have said ChatGPT and its family all the way. But now I think because everything is so blah, having that human unpredictability and inefficiency, to your point, I think pays off. So have to mix and match it.
I agree with you. I think I had that thought till a month ago. And I feel, I think maybe developers, a lot of work can be done because it's repetitive work. You don't need to be so creative. I think creative copywriting and creative marketing and sales pitches, you want to get into the inboxes, want to get a copy out which people see. I think you still need human involvement over there. Yeah. I think with this, are we doing a Q&A now or later, or how do you want to go about it?
I guess let's do a quick Q&A.
Yeah, quick one. We would love to sort of take a pause and let you guys in the audience, if you have any questions for us and the panelists.
Otherwise, cool.
All right. Well, I think we have one over there.
There's one question.
Yeah, there's always one bold one.
Hi. I really liked your point about the YouTube videos that you mentioned earlier. And I think that's very smart to put out that content. And you're thinking about not just about how you're going to get new sales, but also you're thinking about how you're going to support existing customers to reduce those costs. So are you all in? What are some of the other things that you're looking at in terms of bringing video into your product? Because I could imagine there's also training, right, for salespeople and how to maybe further your products and your customer journey. I was curious if you're looking at those things or if you focus more on the support capabilities of YouTube right now.
I'm smiling as you said that because just today we're going to be launching a new version of our app where in the app we're going to have like little YouTube video directions. So right now we're doing on the admin functionality to kind of direct them. So on certain features, there's a learn more with a little YouTube link. I think what's happened is that we started it from a customer support and then for training. But we didn't realize by putting all this content, it helped us with our prospecting. However, because we have all this content, we realized, well, why don't we go around the edges on the stuff that's not Kugamon related, but tangential around us, like how to create a user in Salesforce. And what that's done is that's created a broader like coverage model. And so now, like I was mentioning earlier to somebody that, we got a 1,000 user opportunity because somebody came in and ended up watching 6 hours worth of our videos. And then when they talked to the sales rep, they're like, hey, can you talk to our board? Like, we're ready to go, because they're so enthusiastic. They shared the videos and everything. And so not that many B2B startups like do that. And I think this is a great opportunity to kind of to help educate the market. Every time somebody watches our video, that saves us from getting on a Zoom call and educating them. And so that has really basically helped us out in getting out the word. And so I'm very fortunate for YouTube. Can I say a downside to it? The downside is the person that we have, she has such a great voice. Now we have to pay her more because we don't want her to leave because she's kind of like the voice of the company. So, yeah. So you gotta,
Start paying to replicate the voice.
But we're very fortunate.
Cool. I think are we out of time? Yeah, okay, cool. We're out of time. I think we'll all be sort of there if you have any questions in person. We'll leave. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Kuldip and Greta
Kuldip,
for this.
Greta, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay, if the next set of speakers could come up, that'd be great.
Check, check. Are we matching ourselves?
If you could sit
Check 1, 2. Yeah, perfect.
Good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Mic check. Back there. Can you hear me? Awesome. Perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us tonight, and I'm excited to be co-moderating today's session, or this second session, with our guests over here. We have Vernon Keenan, who is an esteemed DevOps expert in the world of Salesforce and amongst a few other things, alongside a Salesforce product leader, notably in the agent force space. And then we have Toku, who is co-moderating this session with me. Today we'll be looking into how AI is reshaping the world of professional services. We'll be looking at a practical take of what that looks like and how that will be institutionalized over the coming months and years with the evolution of AI. So that being said, I'll ask our esteemed panelists and our co-host to give a quick introduction.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Vern Keenan. I'm an enterprise AI analyst. I'm specialized in the Salesforce ecosystem, and I service companies like Salesforce and small startups.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Manjeet Singh. I'm branding myself these days as the fittest AI product manager, and let me break it down for you. So I'm a product lead. I work on AI. I've been doing it for a long time. Building agent force right now. Done the same thing in the last few years with ServiceNow and a couple of other companies. And when I'm not working, I'm a fitness coach. I train people. I help many types of pain go away from the body. So that's why I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
And hi, I'm Toku. I'm the co-founder and COO, CTO of Qlay. I'm also the product lead. So we're in the HR tech space. We're building an AI automated engineer hiring platform. And we're also right now working with a global construction company to kind of expand into hiring construction workers.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for the introduction. I'll just jump right in. So, a lot of us have heard the term software as a service, but we're now talking about service as a software. So this first question will essentially present an opportunity. We have a lot of consulting firms, legal firms, mainly organizations that are people heavy, exploring opportunities to bring efficiency within their organizations. Obviously with the emergence of enterprise platforms and tools, folks use ChatGPT, Perplexity in their personal lives, but breaking those down and taking them step by step into organizations is the next layer. So the question I present to our panelists here, service as a software. It's an emerging novel idea. What does it mean for you?
Well, service as a software represents roughly the labor that it takes to operate software. So if you were to, like I measured it recently, if you look at the Salesforce DevOps sector, and these are companies like Gearset, Capato, other companies like that, none of them, if you add up all their revenue, they make about $200 million a year. That's the total size of that market. But I recently tried to size what I thought was the consulting and the labor market that goes with operating that software that I thought could be targeted by AI. And that came out to billions, like 3.6 billion. So I'm getting this 10x, 20x feeling that if you look at a market that is sized in a particular way, like Salesforce, for example, is a $38 billion company, then you got to wonder about all the services and the people and the labor that goes along with that. And that's a lot. And we think that many skills within that area can be commoditized now. So that you could take a skill like requirements analysis or things that Cloobot is doing, for example, and other types of cognitive skills that came from consultants that used to be kind of like a rarefied quantity. Like you had to pay that McKinsey guy $2,000 an hour to hear his golden speak, And what happens now when you get that $250 an hour guy who's got a chatbot that's as good as that McKinsey guy? So I think what's happening now is we're seeing skills like consultant skills being commoditized into readily accessible skills by other consultants. And what I think is going to happen is that people are going to learn how to find value in that and deliver that value to new customers who before couldn't afford that McKinsey guy, but still needs that level of advice to run his $50 million manufacturing operation in the Midwest. So I think, you know, what we're seeing now is that the value and the you know, the royal nature of these consultancies is going to be attacked and devalued quite heavily over the next few years. I consider them fat targets.
Love it. I mean, just by virtue, thanks for the call out about Qlay, but I mean, that's essentially what we're trying to do, right? There's a lot of mundane tasks that are being done in the consulting world, especially in the tech implementation space. And I can probably say and confirm on behalf of a lot of BAs and solution architects, no one likes to document and create requirements and user stories and design documents because they take forever and everybody just wants to build. So, you know, identifying efficiencies within the process definitely creates an opportunity for these AI augmented tools to support humans as they're becoming more efficient and in a way democratizing the accessibility to top-notch services at a much kind of a palatable price point. So Manjeet, kind of piggybacking off of that, in the context of just, you know, obviously Salesforce is not just a CRM, there's a lot goes on in the world of Salesforce, but more broadly speaking in AI, where have you seen in working kind of with partners and even in the ecosystem, even more broadly, ServiceNow and others, where there's real demand and need as it relates to kind of Gen AI and how, you know, speed to market, product to market fit in terms of, you know, obviously Agentforce is a relatively new product in the world of Salesforce, and, you know, readiness was something we talked about earlier. Would love to get your take here.
Yeah, sure. I think a couple of observations. So one is what Vern was saying is this enterprise B2B software space is complex, right? You pick any enterprise platform, you will see is, okay, you need help all along the way to configure it right, to optimize it, to keep it running, to keep the kind of cost down, so on and so forth. And now if you see all these platforms are putting AI on the top, so one way, you know, we say things are getting easier because you have agent, but at the same time, things are getting more complex. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of gaps because, you know, customer maturity level are very different if you look across, you know, of course they're early adopter, but then whereas if you look into the healthcare and banking and others, there's like wide range of kind of those maturity. And if we talk here, let's say as a Salesforce and as an Agentforce and customers are here, there's a big gap. So now who is filling that gap, right? And that's where, you know, the experts comes in. And what I'm seeing is now this whole expertise has to be augmented, you know, of course, you know, human professional services, you know, all the SIs and implementers and all that. But also everybody is augmenting that with agents, discovery agents, right? Implementation agent, testing agents. And there has to be a repeatable playbook so that you can kind of give the right set of tools to the customer. And then the services team use it. And then, so I think it'll be interesting. And what I'm seeing is suddenly the VC community is also become very interested in funding these type of businesses because VC has always like, okay, no, services is more kind of a human, you throw more bodies and that's how the business grow. But now what they are seeing is, that's true, but if they are powered by more agents, you can drive a lot more productivity, you can do a lot more projects. You know, same team, let's say 10 people were able to do 5 projects now. Can they do not 20 projects? Possibly yes. So that's, what I'm seeing is a lot of, I think, interest from VC, and that's good for, I think, the entire ecosystem. Because we do need to make the systems get adopted, get deployed, and gets used. That's good for our ecosystem, like in Salesforce, because we want people to have successful conversation. That's how we get paid. Like if you have chat with our service agent, we get paid whatever, like $2, $3, like different pricing. So I'm very excited actually. You know, I think it's an opportunity, and then that's the way to grow. A lot of people have proved that that model, that right technology augmented by the right set of expertise.
Amazing. Kind of handing it off over to Toku, you know, for the next question.
Yeah. Okay, so let's delve into like customer behavior. So like traditionally, like for service providers, I think like the customers would kind of focus on like the number of hours spent on the service, like when did kind of thinking of, oh, how much should I pay this guy? Maybe in recruitment it's a little different, but consulting and all kinds of services. With I guess with all this like AI and all that, do you think buyers are now like kind of ready to have like a different mindset in terms of like pricing? For example, there could be outcomes, but maybe just because it's AI and it's done so quickly and only a little bit of a little bit of time spent. And I guess also like, and how do you think AI is kind of reshaping the buying decisions of these enterprises?
Well, I think that definitely pricing is a big deal. Like one thing, when people talk about these trillion-dollar markets out there, what they're doing is that they're taking, marketing, for example. Marketing is globally like a $2 or $3 trillion industry in terms of labor. And people are saying, oh, well, that's the AI agent market, all the people that can do that, they're gonna pay all the AI agents exactly what they paid the people over here, and that's total hogwash, of course. I think what's gonna happen is that there's gonna be if you've got an AI agent doing a human job, people are expecting the AI discount right there. So I think that you're gonna be lucky if you can capture more than 50% of that value with your new agent. So I think that is, pricing is interesting because I think there's going to be a downward pressure. Hopefully that is part of the abundance equation that we're all after here with AI. The idea is to make everything cheaper and more abundant so that we can use it more. I mean, that's what happened with telecommunications in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, and now it's ubiquitous, and now we can't imagine living without it, where back then, it was way too expensive, and once it got cheap enough, it got distributed. This is what people call the Jevons paradox, where they predicted that once all of the steam engines in England were being used, the price of coal would collapse because all the steam that was being made was being produced. Kind of like how IBM predicted there would be like 4 computers or something like that. Once this is happening with AI right now, once the cost goes down, there's going to be more utility. So I think we're going to have a heavy commoditization of cognitive skills, and they're going to be available for cheap. The trick is going to be how much value can you add to that cheap skill in whatever service that you're offering.
Yeah, I'd like to actually add on top of that, and I think an earlier panelist mentioned that think of an AI agent as a junior team member on your team, and this is really where these efficiencies are really being brought in. I actually interviewed about 15 to 20 consulting firm leaders recently in the last few months, and one of the themes that they've mentioned to me was a lot of folks, or a lot of potential customers, and even their existing customers are asking, obviously with all these AI tools, what are you doing about it? How can we bring our bill rates lower? How can we go from this T&M structure to more fixed bid or more structured outcome-based contracts? Because they're all trying to reap the benefits of AI and artificial intelligence just in the value chain of Salesforce implementations. So as we're kind of, even some of these organizations are using ChatGPT today internally and other pointed solutions to try to augment specific pain points that they have in their processes. But institutionalized AI in the context of professional services is probably going to be more use case and specific and more industry specific. So that's what we're trying to tackle with Qlay and how we see there's a massive opportunity, especially in onshore-based talent. I liken this back to the offshore era, right? 30 years ago when we started to have offshore delivery teams to augment software implementation. And what did that do? That brought down the blended bill rates, made the price of implementing large-scale solutions much lower. But unfortunately, you can't do that with client-facing roles, and that's where AI is going to be, bringing in some of those savings. So when we look at the triangle that we always talk to our customers about, you want quality, you want speed, and you want price. I think with the emergence of Gen AI and some of these tools, like what Qlay is trying to achieve, is we're going to find that center point where you can probably achieve very close of all three at a pretty reasonable price just by the subsidies of AI.
Yes.
And I'll make a quick hot take here. I truly believe we'll have a AI-first consulting firm with 10 employees that will probably produce better outputs and deliver more projects than a traditional consulting firm with 100 people. So we'll see if that ends up panning out, but I think that will be the case.
I'm backing that prediction. I think the typical consultant there is going to be the ex-Accenture guy, the ex-McKinsey guy who is in his early 30s going, I can do much, much better with all these tools out there than what these guys are doing. Then he's going to go back to the customer he was servicing before with his 10-person team and say, okay, I've got a 12-month plan how to do that stupid Accenture 3-year plan. So who are you going to hire? And I think that it's the classic innovator's dilemma to the nth degree here. It's like these consulting companies have to realize what's happening. I mean, they're getting the feedback right now from their customers. I find that a fascinating comment. Yeah. And so that they're going to figure out ways to do it to themselves, or there will be other people doing it to them. That's my view.
I actually used to be a consultant at Deloitte before this startup.
Me too.
And my co-founder used to be a consultant at McKinsey, and kind of like seeing what all AI can do these days. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous how it does like what I used to do like so much faster and better. Yeah.
I love that. So Toku, bringing it back to recruiting, this isn't going to be one of those cases where AI takes over the world or the consulting world. Tell us where you see, and maybe we start with the question that you have around kind of recruiting and kind of where do we find the synergies between what you're working on and how these AI agents will collaborate and really bring in some of those efficiencies for organizations that are trying to grow headcount, but also manage that growth with AI agents as well.
Yeah. So I guess since we're in recruiting, our main value proposition is to kind of cut down on the time that people have to spend screening candidates. In our case, we primarily focus on engineering candidates because assessing technical skills is pretty straightforward. However, there has been a couple of college interns from Japan working here for Digital Garage, and they're college seniors and they're kind of doing their job search. And I watched them actually go through this new grad recruitment AI interview series. So one case was basically the AI kind of asking, and she had to answer each question. The other case was Japanese companies like to have like a group of applicants together and just have them do like an open discussion just to see like who's proactive and stuff like that. But nowadays, like they're just throwing in like an AI, like sort of like a meeting note taker / moderator, and then just having just the students kind of talk amongst themselves on Zoom without any employee being part of it. And so this type of like new grad recruitment is more, not really like assessing technical skills, but it's more like a personality, cultural fit into the company. So then I guess that brings the question, I guess, I don't know if like at Salesforce you use any type of AI recruitment, but I guess what is your view on this like human to kind of like automating this, what used to be like a human to human kind of interaction and understanding, fit to now this automated version?
Yeah. So I think that's such a great question. The way I see is, one is, let's say to answer your question directly, do we use AI in our hiring process? The answer is yes, but I would say it's not to the level where an AI agent is taking the interview. But we have our kind of sales product. That's where we use kind of the same sort of like, hey, can our sellers talk to the AI coach and then prep for, let's say, a customer meeting, right? So I would say those use cases are more common, and that's what our customers are asking, and we have built a couple of agents around that. We call it kind of sales coach as an example. But I'm personally very optimistic and very bullish about, because now these models are multi-model. They can handle all the interruptions. When you talk to them, they feel very natural. the personalization is coming along. The more you talk to them, the more they understand you, right? And then, over a period of time, then they're literally like taking your, like the example from kind of Japan and the culture. If you talk to these AI enough, it can really bring that personalization because the OpenAI added memory layer and all the others. So I think the part where I'm kind of going into is that AI is definitely going to transform hiring. It's a very human touch sort of hiring is, right? So personal. But the point is like, okay, you can keep the human in the loop, but then what are other steps you can automate, right? Reach out to candidate and then follow up, scheduling the interview and all. That itself you can so much kind of save, and I'm guessing that's what you guys are kind of doing. Look, plot out the entire workflow end-to-end hiring. There's like 20 steps. Okay, can we automate 15 of them and bring human in the 5 of them where there is really the, let's say the last round or specifically in the technical role. I do agree. I mean, I came from engineering background and used lead code and others and prep. There's the same question set up, right, to evaluate. So in some roles, 100% yes.
All right, cool. I have one more question. It's a two-part question, one for each of our panelists. So Manjit, as you know, in a product capacity and as you're kind of evaluating what are the use cases, how are you challenging customers to really, push the boundaries around how can they leverage AI within, again, in the confines of their org? Because, again, not just consulting, professional services isn't just consulting, right? You have large teams internally, and you mentioned the example of sales coaching as one option, but like, just in a traditional organization, and as you're trying to refine, what do the customers really want? How do you balance that with, does the customer really know what they want?
No.
Yeah. Most of the time, I think that no, but one good thing happening about AI is, what I'm noticing is, most of the customer that I talk to, they have a wish list of use cases because within their internal team or maybe, their CEO pressure or board pressure, they have done that, created a spreadsheet like, hey, here are the use cases in our domain, we should kind of apply. Are those good use cases? Maybe 90% no. And that's where we are kind of, the little bit of joint discovery, right? Because when you think about Agent Force, I'm like, hey, what's your agent readiness score, right? What's, where your data is, what platform are you using, and then does it make sense, or even your, let's say, have you even configured your Salesforce the right way before you throw agents on the top? But the way I think that, typically Salesforce is we show one is art of the possible, right? We have this Salesforce Innovation Centers and then really show the vision to customer, like Dreamforce. I don't know if any of you have attended our Dreamforce conference. That's what we basically, show the art of possible. And then the reality. So like grounding ourselves into which use cases are really production ready today. And then we have a couple of them, like the service agent is, I think, is doing great. And then, with specifically the voice agent capability, a lot of customers are adopting it and great momentum. And then sales coach examples and others. So I think it's a balancing act. I think, and then we have a lot of very large customer base. So we have this feedback loop from customers. Good feedback, bad feedback, and then as a PM, yeah, I mean, I have to. Sometimes the feedback is so bad, I'm like, okay, let's soak that in and translate into how do we convert that into more positive side.
Awesome. I'm actually looking forward to the Agent Force use cases around the setup and admin portion of the org. I know there's a lot of hype and a lot of real stuff happening behind the scenes, but waiting to kind of see how all comes together will be very interesting. So Vernon, that gets me to kind of the part 2 of this question, and that is, you and I have talked a lot about this agent-to-agent interaction. Right now, there's a human feedback loop, and that's always going to be there. But in a world where you have different agents across different platforms supporting the value chain of whatever process it is, where do you see that going? Do you see that similar to integrations of the past and how systems talk, or how electric car chargers ports work? What's the standard going to look like?
Well, there's a lot of activity in this area right now, by the way. So Google just put out something called Agent to Agent. Salesforce happens to be part of that group. And it is a set of protocols and a way for different agents to work together. IBM has something called B.AI, and that is a way that you could take Crew and the different popular agent frameworks that are out there right now and get those agents to work together. So that's interesting. Folks like LangGraph, Crew, and others have got multi-agent systems and protocols for them to work together. So I think this is a very active area. I also think that, Salesforce has talked about it with their agent, we got Agent Exchange and what goes along with their App Exchange. So I think platforms like that are going to be super important in the future, where agents maybe can go hire other agents to help them do their job, or things of that nature. I told Mark Benioff that he needs to create a digital worker cloud. So I don't know if that'll happen, but that seems like the next logical step. That you have, actually, ServiceNow is doing the most work in this area right now in terms of multi-agent systems working together. So they have a new kind of discovery technology going on for that, and agent registry, I think they call it. And then Workday is also working on this as well, using all of their knowledge about HR and creating agent descriptions based on roles. So I think that's actually where we're going next with agents in general, before we can get them to work together actually, is that they have to understand their roles within an organization. It's just more than a collection of tasks. So I think in general, I love to talk about agents and everything, but I think it's good to remind people that they don't work yet. That we're in what you call the classic technology J-curve adoption cycle, which means that you're investing a lot of money and then it's not paying off, and all of a sudden it pays off. That's what happened with the internet. So I think if you've got conviction about AI, that you think it is a new platform, that you think it is a new way to do computing, that it is going to eventually turn out that way. The reason why I have conviction is because of the commoditization. Just that is such a basic fact that you could now do language translation now for pennies, where it used to take a person to do that. And those skills are happening all over the place. We've been talking about those in consulting right now too. So I think that is an inevitable march of AI, is that fact. So
awesome. I know our last question was going to be around where do you see this space going in 2 to 5 years, but I feel like might as well just talk about 6 to 12 months. But Vernon, honestly, I think part of what you said kind of aligns on where the future's heading. Anything else you want to add before we head to Manjeet?
Oh, just that I'm also concerned about what I call the quiet erosion. So I think that when you have AIs able to do jobs, especially in IT now, that junior people used to be able to do, that we're seeing a quiet erosion in career ladders. Also, if you look at, I've done some econometric studies on this, and the preliminary numbers on the number of jobs that would be created by AI versus the number of jobs that might be destroyed by AI does not look good. It's like 10 to 1, 5 to 1 at least, deficit in terms of the number of AI jobs being created versus other jobs that may be destroyed. So I think that we have, as leaders, we need to realize this, and we need to take it into account, especially if you're running a company. You need to think about bringing in young people and other factors to kind of mitigate some of these negative sociological effects that I see.
Manjeet?
Talk about future of 12 months.
I mean, where do you think see things are heading 6 months, 12 months, and so on?
I think 12 months is max we can predict these days, because future is very fast changing and it's hard to predict. We all are incrementally figuring it out. But my take is, in kind of this AI and agent world, this multimodality as it's getting better. So like voice capability, and then kind of agent going back to, I think the one theme that we are all picking is, if today's AI and agents are, let's say, your interns and your junior level employee, my prediction is before 12 months, it will level up to senior engineer, okay? In some areas, maybe not in kind of all. So now what that means, some of the topics that we talk about, because if this intelligence layer is compounding every 3 months or 6 months, and now let's say the bar has been raised, now what it means, what should be the team size, how we should be organizing the team, going back to the digital labor, what should be the right mix of number of the agents plus real humans plus all that, right? I don't know. I mean, I think I always say like, hey, let's incrementally figure this out. The other thing is this kind of point of these agents don't work today, or they're like, I would say they work, but they are unreliable. So how do we make them more reliable? I think there's tool chain needs to be developed and a lot of good work happening. And I'm very optimistic in next 12 months we will have a pretty solid kind of this SDLC-like DevOps tool chain. I call it Agent Ops tool chain for these agents. That will make you these agents from unreliable to reliable through proper testing and monitoring and then feedback loop and then kind of reinforcement learning. Then I think it will be a good spot because it's like 3 themes. Intelligence, agents, kind of reasoning engine, everything gets better. Now you have a tool change with the human feedback loop. That's like, okay, now reliability is coming and they are more deterministic. And then I think you just think about use cases. So that's I'm very optimistic, I think. We just need to figure it out what will be the right balance, how we will manage all of this multi-agents, and then how do we build the trust slowly. And so much money is being pumped on, we'll figure it out. I think
awesome. Well, Toku, shall we ask the audience if they have any questions?
If anybody has any question, please raise your hand.
Right, Greta.
Hi there. So there's been a lot of conversation about the savings of AI. I'm going to get rid of a human and hire an AI agent, and it's going to save me a lot of money. Are there particular use cases where the AI is more valuable in your industries where you could actually charge more for it? An example, like in advertising, is like sentient analysis. You could hire 1,000 employees to try to do what AI can do in a matter of hours. And so that's something that is incredibly valuable. Like you can charge a premium for that a single agent couldn't do. So are there areas where you see AI actually being something people can charge a premium for?
Yeah, I can start. I think we have some very good examples. I'll pick 2 of them. So one is this customer service kind of use case. That's where we have service agent. And the best way to, I think, understand the ROI and also quantify easily is, if you think about a call center scenario, any kind of retail customer, and they're getting, let's say, thousands of calls. Some of them are getting million calls, let's say, the big ones. Every call ends up costing you, on an average, $12. Okay, so if humans are picking up those phones, it's $12. And if you can have an AI agent, then you will have to maybe $1. What percentage of calls can be handled by agent? Maybe let's say 20%. But then I think the volume and then the saving adds up quickly. And the hope is that these agents today is 20%. Can they go to 30? Can they go to 40? So that's where a lot of decision makers are. That's how they're looking at a little bit of a long term in a year or 2 year journey as this stack evolves from the. There's some areas where it's hard, I think challenging also. If I give a counterproductive example, like an SDR case and then others, which like very human touch, trust, and people don't make buying decisions just by talking to an agent. So, and I think you know a lot more in this like space and how do we kind of, so I think there will be some areas where software development is another one. If you can build out a lot of these softwares and prototypes quickly, you can't deny the ROI. I mean, it's there, it's working. I created a website, I can publish it. So now otherwise I would have to hire a consultant.
I think what you're mentioning there is kind of like the entrepreneurial excitement, perhaps, that this opportunity is presenting people. So let's say, in the context of what we're discussing tonight, you're a consultant and you're able to bring all kinds of new tooling and capabilities to your particular skill set. I think that would enable you to charge a higher rate, for example. So I think it's this ability, how much of this commoditized knowledge out there can you bring into your practice and use to bring value to customers? I think that that is really the key. And if you can bring in more and more of that and create more value for that customer, I think people are still willing to pay for value. So I think there's a way to do it. You have to, like I could see a tech lead today who is able to command all of the tools like Cursor and so forth, more so could be more valuable to me as a startup CEO than a tech lead who couldn't do that stuff.
So if I can add one comment, and you were asking about pricing. So I think there's a lot of experiments around outcomes less output-based pricing. But then if you think about, let's say, if you get a PSD level agent versus an internal level agent, the pricing cannot be same, right? So I mean, as you can see, OpenAI has a $20 subscription and a $200 subscription because you have current data. And now there's some are thinking about maybe, okay, $100,000 for a year for an AI agent, but it has to be better freaking good, otherwise, you know. So.
I'm getting my $200 a month out of the Pro. So.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hi, my name is Bhargava. Thank you so much for this talk. Just following up on the question that she has just asked, and maybe I think Manjeet lightly touched on this. In your industries and the work you do, is there a role or like a skill set that you're seeing is making humans more valuable? I see that AI is like taking away from humans in some areas, but what are some areas where the human value is becoming more and more important?
It's the managerial function, I think. It's where old farts like me kind of get to smirk in the background going, oh yeah, I know how to do that, and tell the AI how to do that. And I think in the coding especially, I've been doing it myself recently, and I think if you can, as many product manager skills as you can bring to bear, and planning skills and other things like that is what really enables you to tame these things more, is my view. So I think the more, I think in general, if you look at business as kind of like a stack where you have at the very top of the stack are the stakeholders and at the bottom of the stack are all the things that make the business work, we're seeing that stack being compressed. So there's going to be fewer and fewer operational elements, and everybody in the business is going to have to understand what's happening up here with the stakeholders more and more. So I think stakeholder empathy, managerial skills, and other things like that are the skills that are going to play out.
I actually have a point I want to add as well. Kind of as we've kind of talked with potential customers and even some of our customers right now, one of the areas that we've been kind of positioning is, especially in organizations that have Salesforce that don't have a massive IT group internally, they're often making poor architectural decisions because they don't have the right skill sets in-house to basically design and maintain their org. So, tools like Qlay are able to provide those guardrails and know-how, enabling admins, enabling product owners who are wearing multiple hats to basically drive forward best practices without having, there's no budget to hire an additional person, so that was never going to be on the table. So this becomes an alternative to help bolster those IT teams as well.
Yeah, so just to quickly add, right, because another part of the question is, hey, do we need more generalists or do we need more specialists? Okay, and I think it's a good question when I heard about it first time, and then I started kind of observing what's happening around me. And my observation is, if you are building an industry-specific solution, healthcare, deep, like the finance tech and those, so obviously, like you need more specialists who understand the nuances and compliance and governance, and then like CPQ. I know some of you work in that space. It's very complex, that workflow in itself. So you need that kind of, that doesn't come with you can't teach an agent kind of that. But then at the same time, what do you see in other areas like software development? As one was saying, the role compression is happening. you're not looking for front-end developer, back-end developer, you're looking at a full stack engineer. Okay, so I think it's a mix and match. So you have to, I think, if you're particularly interested in one area, so for example, in sales, what I'm seeing in sales is you need more account executives. So we hired 1,000 account executives in Salesforce. At the same time, we are building agents. But the reason is to close those deals, like $1 million deal, you need that, that human touch. And then, so I don't know what kind of role you work in. So happy to chat and give my take. So it's all over, and it's a little bit confusing. I totally understand.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this.
Thank you. Go Warriors.
Go Warriors.
Awesome. So,
Thank you. Can we take a quick selfie?
yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, just one quick announcement before we close. At Qlay, we host a bunch of events every month. So there's some events coming up. So tomorrow we're having like this AI event. We have engineers from Quadrant and Sambanova presenting about some latest AI stuff. So if you're interested, and then on Thursday, so the one tomorrow is going to be here. On Thursday, which is in Palo Alto, we're going to have a patent IP expert who's going to be talking about what happens if AI contributes to your innovation, to your product development. What happens in terms of like ownership of IP and is that patentable and things like that. So that's kind of interesting, I think. And then next Monday on the 19th, we have a pitch event that we're co-hosting with Context Ventures. And then on the 28th, we have another AI event with Encore and Anywhere Real Estate. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So we kind of need to close this place at like 8. So I guess we kind of ran a little longer. So we only have like 15 minutes. But please enjoy and networking. Thank you very much.